All right, if someone is traveling to Greece, what's a hidden gem that they definitely need to visit?
Okay, if someone's traveling to Greece, what's the hidden gem? The location, place to visit first. I think the place I've been a lot, like Zakynthos. Oh, you guys we can call it Zakynthos. They have great beaches. Like it's amazing scenery. It's cheap. Like I want you guys to understand, you don't have to pay a lot of money. It's Greece, and usually if it's Greece and you go out there and you're paying a lot of money, they're probably robbing you. I want to be honest. I don't want to even mess around. But it's Greece. It's homey. It's so welcoming. So I think Zakynthos, and you could see the wrecked ship there, and it's like a lot of sightseeing. That you love it.
Go back in time. You can train with one retired NBA player. Who would it be?
Go back in time, and I can only train with one retired NBA player. I mean, obviously the first answer obviously is Kobe. Obviously, this guy was immaculate, like just the way he think and everything. But I gotta give a different answer. I would say Pete Maravich, Pistol Pete. Just dribbling and on the back and legs and everything. Because if you think about it, just dribbling, if you can learn how to dribble, it's actually your way around the court. It's like your passport all around everywhere you are. You get to. If I want to get there, it doesn't matter if you can play defense. If I can dribble, I'm gonna get there. Now I gotta make something happen. But if you can learn how to dribble, it is a big asset.
Fourth quarter, number 3. Oddly, it's connected to Carbliss, who's a sponsor here at Four Quarters, because they're a big partner of the Milwaukee Brewers. What's the deal with the first pitch, man? They tweeted at you about a month ago. Do we have it on the schedule? What's up?
I don't know. They did tweet, but I got to work on. I can't just go out there and just throw it. I got to learn
practice
how to
a little practice.
Yeah.
We got to get the date scheduled. I'll get a pitcher here, and
really?
We'll get someone from the Brewers here to practice a little warm up session.
I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it I'll give you a whole
shake off the catcher.
Everything. I hold I can act the part. I don't know if I can do it. I can
hey, as long as
throw
you
a curveball or something like that, but I can act the part.
Was it at the Mets game 50 Cent threw it basically all the way to the left? He just completely missed. I'll show you that clip,
serious.
but
I don't want to miss. I
good.
just wanted to go straight ahead. So
you're athletic. You'll pull it off.
Huh?
We obviously do this in beautiful camera setup every week.
Yeah.
Movies, the soap operas like Stephen A. What's next for you, man?
No, soap operas. I don't know about soap operas.
Could you act? You think you could? I bet you could do it.
If they let me act with an accent,
yeah,
I would. But I don't. I do good in commercials. That's
for sure.
Because I've done so many. You probably haven't seen them a lot, but I've done a lot.
I got your Instagram page. Yeah, I've seen some commercials
in Greece and a lot of in the past as well with my brothers. I mean, I have a nice smile, so I really do good in commercials and stuff like that.
And you're humble, obviously, about your nice smile.
Yeah. No, but I know I'm being real. That's why they pick me in commercials. But the other thing is, I've never done something with. I mean, I've done some with lines, stuff like that. But I usually record them after. Okay. So I'll do the commercial, and then if it's a script, I'll record them. So, but I don't know about Hollywood. Nah.
If you had to be in a type of movie, comedy, action, little rom-com, what kind of movie could you be in?
I want to say action. It has to be something with comedy action.
Okay.
A little bit of seriousness, but a little bit of
It's the Kevin Hart and The Rock combo. We just got to add you to that. It's perfect. Comedy, action.
Yeah, I could be
perfect.
Just a cameo or something. Just walk in and be like, no, we don't do this here, brother. Say something like that.
You already got the lines down.
Yeah,
who do we got to talk to make this happen?
I don't know. It's a lot of who do we have to talk to make this happen?
We get the big voice guy in the movie trailer doing the end starring.
End starring. I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
In 10 years, a couple more championships later, we're making it happen.
I hope. A couple more championships later.
That's all I got to say in the 4 quarters.
See you guys, get ready for our next interview. Ciao. Hey, welcome to another episode of Thanasis Show, man. With your one and only host, me, Thanasis Antetokounmpo. Today we have a special guest, but before we go to the special guest, I know you guys are wondering about my haircut. We'll talk about this in another episode. You know, it's go time. But today I have somebody special who's going to teach us about so many layers of basketball. And he's so special for the city of Milwaukee. He's so special for the state, Wisconsin. So I'm so happy to have him because it's the first time I'm having it's the first time I'm having a head coach from a college team. So without further ado, from Marquette University, we're number 32, your head coach, Shaka Smart. Give him a hand of applause.
Thank you. That was a heck of an introduction.
Thank you. I don't know if
I like your energy. You would fit in with us because we're big on energy generating behaviors.
Yeah.
And that's right up your alley.
Thank you. You know what's so crazy? I was thinking about the defense you guys have, like the havoc and I wanted to learn about the philosophy because I was like, damn, I think I would be like great at it. I would be like, because I buy into it. I buy into the philosophy of a defense. I buy into how to stop the other team from scoring, but at the same time, like because that creates culture as well. So could you tell me a little bit about that, Coach?
Well, I've coached at 3 different schools, and the defensive philosophy has evolved over the years.
Yes.
But one thing that has not changed is we want guys with incredible energy,
Yes.
and we want guys that have a passion for disrupting and bothering the other team.
Yes.
And you would be perfect with that. We played against Andre Jackson at UConn.
Yeah.
And he is another one, perfect for that kind of defense. Energy, tenacity, a little bit of nastiness.
Yeah, you need that.
And just a level of passion for wanting to play defense. You know, I always explain to guys, hey, did you have that guy on your high school team that hustled and dove on the floor and did all those things? And everyone says, oh, yeah, that was Johnny, or that was Jimmy, or that was this guy. And I always say, well, why is that? Why do you think he was like that? And they'll think about it, and then they'll say, well, because he couldn't really shoot, or he couldn't score, or that was the only way for him to get on the floor.
Yes.
And then I say, well, what if we were all like that? Then we would really have something. And so that's what we strive for. We're not perfect, but that's what we go after.
No, 100%, Coach. I think like that sets the tone, that changes the culture of the team, and it builds. Like when I say culture of the team, culture is not the wins or losses. That's people sometimes be like, oh, winning culture, losing culture, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's the people.
Yes.
It's how many weak characters you have in your team, how many special characters you have in your team, who, and then you have the people who are neutral. They just get influenced.
Yes.
So this is what I want to talk. Like when you make a team, what's your top criteria? How do you devise a team? How do you go with your roster?
I'm so glad you asked. So for us, culture is 3 things: how we act,
Yes.
interact, and respond. And so it's not necessarily words on the wall or any philosophies. It's how we act. For example, are we late or are we on time? How we interact.
Yes.
For example, do we look each other in the eye? Do we smile? Do we give each other energy? Yes. Or do we not? And how we respond, as you know, is such a huge thing in competitive sports because you're going to get hit in the mouth a lot and you're going to have success as well. And so your response to adversity and prosperity says a lot about who you are. So that's culture for us. And as you just mentioned, the number one way that culture is built is by who you add and subtract from your organization.
Yes.
You could say we're about this culture, we're about that culture, but if you add the wrong people, or if you subtract the wrong people, then you're not going to be exactly where you need to be. So for us, we value 3 things: relationships. We don't want anyone in our program that doesn't value relationships.
Yes.
We want guys that truly care about one another in the game of basketball, but even beyond the game of basketball. And that's coaches, players, support staff, everyone. Number 2, we value growth. We get these guys during a very formative time of their life. They're between 18 and 22 years old.
Yes.
And so that's a time where if you're not growing, there's a problem. We need to make sure that we are aggressively pushing you to grow and improve. And even those of us on the coaching staff that are much older, we need to grow. We can't stand pat where we are. We need to get better every day. And our third core value, very simple, victory. We're here to win. We're in a competitive setting. We have the good fortune of playing in one of the best conferences in all of college basketball, at the highest level of college basketball. So absolutely we want people that value victory and most importantly value all the things that go into winning. Because as you know, playing basketball, every player, every coach says he wants to win.
Yeah.
It's more about who's willing to go that extra mile or do that extra preparation or have the right mindset even when adversity hits that affects winning.
Yes. One of those things too as well, Coach. And I don't know, I think it should be the same in basketball as basketball. College, EuroLeague, NBA. I think it's too like it's not about only the winning side of it, because the thing is people say, I want to win, but everybody wants to win different. They want to win their way. It doesn't happen like that. It's that we got to buy in, and doesn't mean we win today. We buy in, we get better, and we win we win in a little bit. We start winning and we start building where we need to be. So from my understanding, what you said it to, Coach, is that, you really can't control the outcome. As a leader of your team, the way you explained to me now, as a leader, you can't control the outcome, but what you can control is your environment. How people speak to each other, how people interact.
Yes. And over time, the environment affects the outcome.
Yes.
Like you said, not every time, because things happen, injuries happen. The other team, we once lost an NCAA tournament game earlier in my career. The other team banked in a shot from 55 feet. Things happen like that, but the environment is something under your control.
Yes.
And the way that you try to affect each other in the environment, because I really believe it's not so much about addition, it's about multiplication. So it's not me plus you.
Yes.
It's you times me.
Yes.
And how much are you making me better? How much am I making you better? And then the same for the other 40 people in the organization.
Yes.
That's powerful.
How do you manage to do all these things? Like, how do you say, okay, if one of your players are going rogue, if one of your coaches are going rogue, people don't talk about that. A lot of coaches, sometimes they just won't buy in.
Well, they're people too.
Yeah, and people, or outside of. How do you handle
A coaching mentor of mine has a great saying. He says, "Sports are simple, people are complicated." So absolutely, the coaches are people too, and they can be complicated as well. How we handle that is the same way you would eat an elephant, one bite at a time. So you got to eat that elephant. That's a big endeavor in front of you, but all you can do is take one bite at a time. And so we try to keep the main thing in terms of focusing on relationships first, the growth and development of our guys as people first.
Yes.
Because if you're not in the right place as a person, doesn't matter how much you work on your jump shot or your ball handling or your free throws. You have to be in the right place in your mind and in your heart and in your soul. And so that's where we start.
No, talking about the draft combine with some of the guys, it was recently, before the draft. And, I went to the draft combine. And I remember back then it was only 60 people. So it was 60 of the guys who probably might get drafted, etc. And always in Chicago. And I went there and I knew about the jumping and running part and the playing. I was like, no, I'm going to crush it. Like jumping and running, like hands and physically. I was like, no, I'm going to crush it. But then there was another part that was the interviews.
Yes.
And I would go to a room and I remember I was getting interviewed by the Knicks, and it was like 10 people in the room, Mr. Phil and everybody from the Knicks organization, and then the Lakers actually who came to the kind of meshed in with the Knicks at the time. And they were asking me all these questions, but the questions were very, not what you expect, not about your jumper, not about how many times you work out a day, what do you lift? No, it was more like, hey, if this happened, what would you do? Yes. Somebody in the team had something, would you tell the team? If this, just stuff like this. And I was like, man, and me, I'm not from here. So I was like, I'm just going to be me. I don't know what the right answer is, because there is no answer. It's more they were trying to figure out who you are as a person.
How about this? So 2 of our guys just were at the Combine in Chicago earlier this spring. And
Wait, Tyler and
Oso.
And Oso,
So those
okay.
are our 2 seniors going to be drafted in the draft.
Yes, sir. All
And
right, good luck, folks. Hopefully
I won't say the team, but when one of them walked into the room to do the interview, they said, okay, we're going to play the game cornhole. You know, where you throw the bean bags and you try to get it in like a hole. And
yeah.
what does that have to do with anything? Well, that was their kind of icebreaker and a way to see how someone was, I guess, in a competitive setting of a silly game. And they had the records up on the wall on like a whiteboard. So all of a sudden, our guy got competitive. He said, well, I want to win.
Yes.
And he did. So hopefully that impressed the team.
That's the thing about the character and the bet. Because it's a bet, right? It's a bet. I'm going to bet on you. So if I'm betting on you, I need to know everything.
For sure.
I'm going to bet on your success. If I'm going to invest in you, right? The investment, like I got to do my due diligence as any other kind of.
Well, the higher the pick, the more due diligence they do. I've coached some guys over the years that have been, high picks in the lottery. And with those guys, I mean, they send almost like a private investigator in to campus.
Ooh.
And they interview the strength coach and the athletic trainer and the academic advisor and maybe the facilities guy and everyone, because they want to know, like you said, they're not asking about the jump shot or anything on the court. They've seen all that stuff. They want to know what's inside.
Yeah.
As we say, cut them open. They want to know what's in there when you cut someone open.
Yes.
And that's, again, the higher the pick, the larger the investment.
Yeah. How many? Okay, obviously you don't have to say, but like, how many calls have you got like this? How many calls you like when you get to the draft?
We get countless calls.
Yeah.
It ends up being very, very time consuming because they'll call me, they'll call the rest of the staff, and if you added up the number of hours that we've spent talking to teams, it's quite a bit. But we enjoy doing it because we love our guys, and it's fun to talk about them. And like you said, we're betting on them. We think they're going to be really successful.
Do you ever see yourself as a coach? And obviously, this is a silly thing to say, but do you always feel yourself as a coach to have preference? Like, you always say, like, because you know what's so crazy? Every single sentence you said is always we and we and we and we, which that's the way I am. And I love that because it's all about the team and all about us together as a unit. But do you always see yourself having, like, gravitating towards, like, not just players, but like people who.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like anything else in life. You gravitate towards certain people.
Yes.
There's an energy that might attract that someone has, or there's an energy that might repel that someone has. For us, we're fortunate. We have these guys that are incredibly bought in, incredibly selfless with the way that they interact with each other. They care about each other so much. But there are always guys that it's just fun to be around. I like being around all of our guys, but every once in a while there's one or two that come along where it's like, man, that guy's special.
It's just like the NBA. Like, some guys, it's different. I know we mentioned the NBA so many times. Like, are you going to coach in the NBA, or you're strictly a college guy?
I love coaching in college. I think in college, you probably have a bigger impact on the person in terms of, like I said, those formative years, 18 to 22 years old. Yes. College is, it's a very, very high competitive level, but it's not certainly to the level of the NBA where everything is about winning. And
almost everything.
Really, there's
pretty much
not a lot of room I'm not saying there's not relationships in the NBA, because I'm sure
they are.
is.
They are 100%. They are.
And I'm sure that there's
the nature of the business.
I'm sure there's NBA coaches that have, in a positive way, changed the lives of the guys they've coached through the things that they've instilled. But I would say overall, college is probably a better place if that's your bottom line. Like, if your bottom line is to affect these guys in ways that, hopefully they look back on when they're old and gray and they say, man, that guy really helped me, like my college coach did for me, then I think college is probably the place to be.
College is probably the place to be. It is.
Now, that being said, I love following the NBA. I love watching the Bucks.
Thank you.
My daughter, Zora, is 12, and one of my favorite things, and we only get to do it maybe 2-3 times a year, is just taking her to a Bucks game and then just seeing her observe everything and take everything in and ask questions and watching you guys do your thing. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the NBA.
What's the difference you see between the NBA? As a player, I can sometimes I see the difference a lot, but
Huge
like
difference.
as a coach, what do you see the?
Well, number one, when we go watch high school games and we are recruiting to try to figure out who's going to be on our team in the future, sometimes it strikes me, these high school games, they bear very little resemblance to a Big East game. That's the conference we're in, the Big East. I feel the same way about college and the NBA. Our games bear very little resemblance to an NBA game, especially a playoff NBA game. Yeah. To me, there's the NBA regular season and then there's the NBA playoffs. Well, big difference, as you know better than I do. But I would say one of the things I love about the NBA, particularly in the playoffs, is when guys just completely lose themselves in competing and going after winning. It's just so much fun to see an elite level player and team do that against another elite level player and team.
Yes.
And in college, we have that for the college level. But in college, just because of the nature of things, there's no Giannis. You know, there's no Joker. You know, so the best we have is very, very good. But it's, you know, our guys, I mentioned Tyler and Oso, our two seniors. Those guys were among the better players in all of college basketball. Well, when they start their NBA careers, they're going to be starting from the bottom, and they're going to have to work their way all the way up to wherever they get to.
That is so true. You know, it's so crazy. So I was watching, I think it might have been NC State, not you guys' game, but it might have been NC State, maybe their next round. And I was watching this kid. Was it DJ? What's his name?
DJ Burns.
DJ Burns.
Big kid.
Yeah. Just lefty, very skilled, and very into it, like great feel for basketball, great feel. Yeah. So I'm watching him play, and I see it. Like I see the move. I see the bump and the bump. In the NBA, we know that. Like bump twice. It's 80% the second bump. After the second bump, it's a move. Either spin move to the baseline or the spin move to the. We know this. It's a fact.
Yes.
But then I saw him score the same way, like 2-3 times, and I'm like, how does he not?
Well, this is a big difference between the NBA and college.
Yeah.
The guy guarding DJ Burns in that game, especially if you were watching the Duke game, because they played Duke.
I was watching the Duke game
after they played us. Here's what you need to understand. That kid guarding him has probably played 40-some college games. All right. In those college games, he's dealt with a DJ Burns type player maybe once or twice. Let's just say at maximum a half a dozen times. This is the big difference between college and the NBA. In the NBA, how many times has Chris Paul used a pick and roll?
Oh, my God.
I mean, we're talking about literally tens of thousands of times. Yeah. So there's no coach telling Chris Paul, hey, when you come off the pick and roll, look for the – no. He's got like a PhD compared to a coach maybe having like a college degree. In college, we're dealing with guys that they just don't know yet.
Yes.
And like you said, you can watch on TV and you've seen it and you want to grab that kid and say, hey, man, he's going to spin.
It's going to spin.
But that's also one of the fun things about coaching in college.
Yeah, I can see it. It's just – and the NBA has this thing about like, if you're a great player, you're a great player. There's nothing they're going to do about it. But they have this certain thing of like figuring people out. Like,
yes.
You take 1 year, 2 years, they have this thing of like try to throw different things at you. And the other thing is because it's professional NBA, like they can actually make the roster to beat you. They can actually literally say like, hey, we need 4 bigs.
When the Nuggets were eliminated by the Wolves, the coach of the Nuggets said this team was put together to beat us specifically.
No, 2 teams. Us and because if you think about it, because the reason I say this, and obviously I know we didn't get to where we wanted to be, but like the way they had it was 3 bigs, and the only team in the NBA that has 3 bigs from which we want to be considered the best front line in the NBA is the Bucks, like Giannis,
Yes.
Brook, and Bobby.
Yes.
So, and if you notice how Reed plays and Bobby play, and if you notice how, say Cat and Rudy and Giannis and
a good
Brook,
point.
and
That's a good point.
yeah. So,
Well, one of the things I love about following the NBA, so I'm a history major
Yeah.
when I was in college. There's this concept in history called runaway social intelligence. And basically what it means is way back in the day, way back when people first started to come together in groups.
Yes.
There'd be a group over here and a group over here. And this group over here would figure something out.
yeah.
And so they had an advantage over this group over here. So then this group over here all of a sudden had to figure out how they were going to do that better, whether it was hunting and gathering or
Yes.
warfare or whatever it was.
Yes.
So then this group figured out how to be better than this group. And then all of a sudden the pressure was on this group. And that's how over time people have gotten more and more intelligent and better at the things that go into winning in life, whatever that may be. Well, that's the NBA too. So NBA team A has this, and this. This team can't stop it, can't deal with it. So now they've got to change and figure out how do we get better, whether it's through roster changes, whether it's through different ways to play defense, to play offense. Now all of a sudden they have an advantage. Now this first team in the first place has to figure it out. And that's what's so much fun.
It's so much fun. And they did their job. The team. Like, I'm so happy for those guys because apart from they're young and they're fun, and Anthony's a great guy, and Cat is a great guy, and Rudy and all these guys are like. But the team took a bet. They literally traded everybody for Rudy. They took a bet on Rudy, and it was like, this is what we're gonna do, and this is how it's gonna look for the next 2-3 years, and it's working out so far. But okay, we talked a little bit about recruiting, right? Like, is it harder now with the NIL situation? Is it easier for you, or what's?
So it's certainly, take Marquette out for a second.
Yeah.
Recruiting has certainly changed. In some ways, it's become more complicated. I would say it's more important than ever to figure out what a recruit and his family truly values and whether those values match up with our program's values. And this applies to anyone that's recruiting. Because if there's a mismatch, it's not going to work. And then what's the result of that? Transfer portal, which you've heard all about. And I think there was close to 2,000 guys that went into the transfer portal this spring in all of Division I basketball. We were fortunate. 2,000. We were fortunate, knock on wood. We were one of the very, very few programs where nobody went in the transfer portal. And so part of that is a result of trying to recruit and bring in guys that their values and their family's values, what they want, what they care about, aligns with ours. Certainly recruiting has changed with NIL, particularly transfer recruiting, but even it's made its way to high school recruiting. For us, and this is going to sound really old-fashioned and maybe even a little out of date, but I don't want anyone to choose to come to Marquette because of NIL. It's certainly a factor. Our guys do pretty well in NIL.
Oh, that's good. That's good, though.
But I don't want them to choose to come here for that, because I feel like if that's your bottom line in picking a place, it's almost like getting married and having a prenup.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why are we signing this prenup?
Yeah.
I thought we were married forever.
Yeah.
Different, but that kind of concept where on the front end, money is, the bottom line. And I still think, again, I'm old-fashioned. Relationships can't put a price on them.
Can.
Growth, your growth. Think about you.
You can't
Think about your family's success in basketball.
No,
Think about you and each of your brothers. The growth that you guys made between 17 years old and 23 years old, okay? If you had to put a monetary value on that, it would be more, and I'm not just talking about as a player, I'm talking about as a person too. It would be more valuable to you than any amount of money that if you were a player in today's era going into college that you could get in NIL. Unfortunately, this kind of gets lost in the focus on, well, how much am I getting? And I don't blame them for asking that question, because I remember being a college kid with the same $3 in my pocket for a month, and I was afraid to spend it because I might need it tomorrow. So I grew up poor. I don't blame anyone that factors in money. But again, you can't put a value on relationships, can't put a value on growth, and then you can't put a value on winning. You guys won an NBA championship.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So if someone said to you, I'll give you X number of dollars to take away your championship.
Yeah.
No. And if I take it away, you can't have any of the memories. You can't have any of the relationships. You can't have. No. You're not doing it.
No.
Now, people that aren't in competitive sports.
By the way, if it's the other way, I would definitely pay as much as I could.
Exactly. I would too. And you know what? I've been a head coach for 15 years. But the longer you do this, you realize I would go be the janitor on a championship team.
This is what people don't realize.
Now, there's no guarantee at the beginning of the season for anyone that you're going to win. But it's not about being a star or being a head coach. Let me be part of that team over there that is going to win. And I think the best you can hope for in October when you're starting the season is that you have a chance to go do something special. And then there's all the different factors that go into it. Good health, chemistry, a little bit of luck, all these things. But you got to at least have a chance.
Got to have a chance, Coach. Gotta have a chance. It's just, I feel like, overseas for us, like you start playing early. Like 17 years old, 18 years old, you're a professional team, and you see with Luka, you see with a lot of people like right away, right? And they make great money, like, getting paid $5,000 or $10,000 a month or $20,000 a month is great money. Like, imagine getting paid this much money when you're like 16, 17. So it's a no-brainer for people from overseas. But I think like, the thing with the NIL here, though, I think what's going to be missed a lot is the jersey, playing for the front of the jersey, playing for the school, saying like my dad went to the school and I'm representing the school, playing for them, or you know what I mean, the family legacy, they're like, no, I'm going to there because I just want to play for them.
Well, it's one thing that I really appreciate about our players is they take a lot of pride on what it says across the front of their jersey.
Yes, sir.
And it's hard to do that if you play for 4 schools in 5 years. But if you spend 4 or 5 years at Marquette, and Marquette's a special place, from our university president on down through the rest of us. But if you spend that time at Marquette, there's a sense that this is my school.
Yes.
And, I mean, you play with Jay.
Mm-hmm.
You played with Wes.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around other Marquette guys.
I've played with Jay. I played with Wes. 2014, 13, actually, I played with, when I first came from the States, straight to the D-League at the time, I played with Vander Blue.
Yes.
Who's another Marquette guy, and I played against Darius.
Johnson Odom.
Oh, Johnson Odom.
DJO.
Yeah, I played with a lot of like kind of.
You played against D-Wade?
Yes, I played against D-Wade. So yeah, very like, it's crazy like how many players this school has, like great players this school has had.
Well, those guys, they were all what we call Marquette guys. And Jay had this great quote back when he was in Phoenix. They asked him about a Marquette guy. And he said, a Marquette guy makes every day count and does everything he can to make his team win. And he said some other things too, but that was the gist of it. And those guys we just named, they were that. You know, Marquette we're in the middle of Milwaukee. We're not out in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. You know, you walk down the block, there's some cracked sidewalks, as Al McGuire, the legendary coach, talked about. When you want to recruit people from those type of neighborhoods, well, that's Marquette. It's a beautiful place, but it's also a real place. And the guys and the teams that have had success, including some of the guys you named, those guys have a toughness about them.
They do.
That, you know, fits.
Jimmy, everybody, they do.
Oh, yeah.
They do. They do have a toughness about them.
You could have played for Marquette.
Yeah, oh, my God. Oh, thank you, Coach. Thank you. Hey, can we clip that? Can we clip that, please? Thank you. So, okay, for the kid from Greece overseas who wants to play college basketball, like how does your program recruit players overseas? How do you guys?
It's challenging. There's a lot of it's like a maze.
Okay.
You have to kind of get through different parts of the maze, and it's like anything else. It's all about connections. So if you know the right people and then they're connected to a good young player over there, then you might have a chance. Agents are very, very involved, as you just mentioned, with some of the better players, even starting at 14, 15 years old. Communicating with those folks, if it makes sense. But again, it's gotten a little bit more complicated because, like you said, they can make a lot of money overseas. Now they know they can make a lot of money coming to the U.S., but it's somewhat of a leap of faith on their side and your side because you can't really get to know them as well as you can some kid from Chicago, down the block.
Yeah.
And so we really try to develop a profile on who is this guy? What's he all about? We just had one of our coaches last month go overseas to go watch a kid playing in the junior team of a professional club over there to really figure him out. We had watched him on tape. We had watched a ton of his games, but we got to figure out who is this guy. It ended up, guy's probably not the best fit for us, so we passed on it. But he's certainly someone that can be a really good college basketball player. We're all about finding the right fit.
That's good. I have a follow-up question here. I don't know if it's true. I really wanted to ask you: is it true, like on Martin Luther King, that you make your players watch like?
I don't make them. There's an interview that MLK did.
Yeah.
Less than a year before he was murdered.
Yeah.
And he was very honest. He was, at that point in his life, he was more of a realist.
Yes.
Than maybe the optimist that said, I have a dream.
Yes.
Years earlier. He had been through a lot. He had shifted a lot of his thinking to, he was a big antagonist against the Vietnam War. He was really, really big on trying to mobilize the working class to, regardless of race, to bring people together to create more opportunities for people that didn't have much. Okay. He was really on some incredible tracks, even beyond race. But he was tired. And it's a different MLK than if you hear some of his stuff from earlier in his life. So every year on that day, I like to send out that interview. It's about 20 minutes to all of our players, other people in a list of, there's a group that I send a little reading excerpt to every morning. So I don't know if they read it or not. I don't know if they'll watch the video or not, but you have to expose people to things and then it's up to them if they're ready to consume it or not.
Oh, that's really great. That's good. But
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me, please.
If you give me your number. I don't know if you're giving it out or not.
No, please, Coach. I would love for you to send me a Good Morning Texas and quotes.
You would like that stuff.
Yeah, I'm very big on that. I really kind of reflect a lot and trying to always have my philosophy and my mental intelligence and mental focus always evolve. And
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Since we're kind of along those lines, tell me, what have you learned? You've been in the United States how long?
This is my ninth year.
Okay, so 9th years in the United States, from Greece, traveled other parts of the world, unbelievable background. 9 years, what have you learned in terms of who you are not? Before we even talk about who you are, that maybe you didn't know 9 years ago.
Yeah. What I'm not a bully. I used to, when I was younger, I'd be, because I was always physical and I was always bigger and I was always the older brother and I always had to protect my brothers. When I came to the States, I realized and through basketball as well, you cannot bully your way into leadership. That's not the way. You used to see all the videos you got to do this, you got to scream, I was like, nah, if I want to be a leader in the team, if I'm not the best player, but I want to be a voice that people really like. When I say something, people look at me and go like, okay, I hear what he's saying. Had to be different.
Yes.
That's one of the things. Now, culture-wise, like I wanted to say, I'm not the person I'm not is I don't take everything face value. Like I just don't take everything face value because there's a lot of things that we don't see.
Yes.
People just throw things out, especially in States though. I don't know. And now that's nothing against the U.S. because I think like the U.S. is amazing when it comes to like business and sports and entertainment and all these other things, and how proud people are, for like the veterans and people who like really went to war for this country and all like this togetherness. But at the same time, you see a lot of division as well. Like you see a lot of people kind of like try to, and it's nothing serious too. It's just like it could be anything. That's the worst part. It's not like people. I'll give an example, right? And I never talk about politics, but let's say you believe in a different party, and and my ideology is a different party. I don't care. You're my friend. I've grew up with you.
Yes.
I don't care if you think. You know what I mean? That's the overseas mentality. I'm not gonna stop hanging out with you because all of a sudden you decide to vote for this person. Bro, that's you. Because you're gonna pay less taxes, or that's what fits your family. All right, cool, whatever. But like here, it's a thing.
Too much division.
Yeah, it's a thing, and I'm not that person. I've always been the person bring people together. So definitely, I'm not that. I don't know. I mean, what else?
It's a hard question.
It's a hard question, but like I know those two things for sure. I'm not now. This is life. In some people's story of the best person ever, and some other people's story of the villain. It happens to everybody. It is what it is. But I'll never be bully anything like that. Just you can't bully your way into nothing in life. And a lot of people kind of try to do that sometimes, and but trust me, it's long-term wise, nah, you can't. You just really gotta, I'm not saying you gotta be naive, but if you're a nice person, you build your relationships, you have good alliances, and really you're good at what you do, people will value your relationship, value you as a person, your presence. So that's that. But okay, so who is Shaka Smart? Who is coach outside of basketball?
Well, I'm married. My wife's name's Maya.
Yeah.
My daughter's name's Zora. So they're both named after two of the best African-American writers of all time. Maya Angelou, who's one of the most intelligent people I've ever heard speak. And then a woman named Zora Neale Hurston, one of the two most talented black writers, female writers of all time. They're the two stars of the family. And then I'm like a role player. So if we were the Bucks, I would be like Pat Bev, Yeah. And my daughter's 12. We live just north of Milwaukee, and we love it here.
Oh, yeah. My next question was going to be, because you said it, what is it like being married to a genius? Because
Well, I'm married to a genius, and then my daughter is smarter than all of us. So,
could you elaborate why? Because I don't think people understand why I say genius.
Well, Maya, my wife, went to Harvard, and then she has a degree from Northwestern as well. And she recently wrote a book. Since we're on a podcast, I might as well plug it. It's called Reading for Our Lives. It is a guide for parents about teaching kids to read between birth and the age of 6. And it's her passion, childhood literacy. It's a real issue and challenge in our country, particularly in some of the areas that don't have as many resources as others. And there's a lot of kids that get to 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, and they're way behind in reading. And so that's my wife's passion. But having a wife and a daughter that are geniuses just means I have to listen and get told what to do.
I see it, Coach. It's crazy, yeah? That you're head coach. You've been a head coach for what? How many years, Coach?
15 years.
15 years plus.
Goes fast. I used to be the young coach. Yeah. Now I'm kind of medium.
No, you're still the young coach, trust me. Still your coach.
There's some old ones out there. I still have a lot of energy, so that's good.
That's good. Then you get to tell, tell a whole school or whole organization, a whole program, like, hey guys, this is what we need to do, this. But then at home, you get to.
I get bossed around.
No, yeah, but not bossed around. You get to like be whatever they need you to be.
Be a role player. Yes, I really enjoy that because it's definitely a different role, and I can focus on particularly my daughter's, just kind of putting front and center her goals and her dreams and trying to celebrate those, but also help her take a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much in life that pushes kids to take a fixed mindset, which means if I had a good game or a good grade on a test, I'm the greatest ever.
Yeah.
Or if I had a bad game, a bad grade on a test, then I'm the worst.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's all about growth. Yeah. It's all about improving.
How do you, and this is another question I want to ask, how do you balance I don't know if there is a balance. I think I would say more of an integration, but like, how do you do that between family and, because for you to be a head coach for so many years, it takes a lot of focus.
Yes. My family's very understanding.
Okay.
My wife is very, very independent.
Okay.
She is not like some of these coaches' wives who their whole life and their whole identity is to be the wife of the coach. She actually sees that as an insult. No, I'm not the coach's wife. Okay. No, she loves the games.
Okay.
She supports our team. She'll come with us, like when we go to the conference tournament or the NCAA tournament. This past year we went to Hawaii. She goes on all the good trips, basically. We took
all that nice stuff. Yeah.
We took our team to Italy last summer. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. She was on that trip. But she's always been very independent, and so that's allowed her to not get too jammed up when I'm working a lot. Yeah. She's always been very understanding. And then my daughter has never really known anything else. I've been a head coach her whole life. And what's been cool is as she's gotten a little older, sometimes I can bring her to the gym.
Yes.
And she started playing basketball since we moved here to Milwaukee. So it's a lot of fun trying to put her through a workout. Although she doesn't listen so good to me. So she listens better to her other coaches than she does to me. She always wants to play around when she's with me.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. But, I really want to ask you about two things. And I don't know, like, the first thing would be, like, have you ever had, like, any NBA players come to, like, to talk to the guys? Like, I know
Yes.
you was with Texas, Katie was involved in this program. You had Marquette, which is, Dwayne Wade and Jimmy, but like those guys like involved, and Jay and all those guys involved in the program.
Those guys have been terrific. At Texas, KD was awesome. I mean,
he came and talked to you?
Yes. He would come about once or twice a year, and by the time I got there, he was KD. I mean, like literally MVP, winning championships, doing all these unbelievable things. But he would come and he would sit in a locker room with the guys, and he'd be so humble and so sharing and giving of his time, give those guys advice. And you could tell he enjoyed just being around the guys and talking ball. And in the younger days of his career, he would play pickup with those guys. And there would always be someone that would be like, oh, I'm going to guard him. And he would just fry the guy. I mean, just demolish.
Yeah, that Tony.
I mean, it was bad. But, it also showed a side of him like, man, this guy's done all these things, but he still has this burning desire, like, to make sure people understand this is mine. Like, I did this. Like, I'm the best guy that's come through here. Since I've been at Marquette, D Wade's been terrific. He's been around a lot. I think when guys get done with their careers, they have maybe a little bit more time and a little bit more, they reflect back on the past more. Yes. So he actually spoke at graduation a few years ago at Marquette. He was awesome. No disrespect to this year's graduation speaker, but I was at graduation. this year, and someone was like, we didn't get D Wade. So I think he set a precedent pretty high. Jay's been awesome. He's been terrific. He comes and speaks to our guys, once or twice a year. Doc has been great. I have him give him the pregame talk a couple of years ago. This is when he was still coaching in Philly, and it just so happened that you guys played Philly that night, and then we had a day game. So Doc was in town, and usually I walk around the corner and I talk to the guys right before the game. So I walked around the corner, but then Doc Rivers was behind me, and he just walked and took the front of the room. And so that was pretty cool for the guys to hear from him. But I'll tell you, the best former player story is Wes Matthews when he was here.
Shout out to Wes, man.
You want to talk about an unbelievable representative of Marquette University, of the basketball program, of this state. He's from Madison.
Yes.
We were in a tough stretch in our season. This was my first year here. We had lost a few games in a row, and we had just lost a game in double overtime that, I hate this word, but we should have won.
Yeah, I hate it too, so that's why I said it.
So, because I think should is the most dangerous word in sports. What does that mean? But anyway, we're at a pivotal point in our season, and we're in a film session the next day, and Wes had texted me about coming by. So I said, man, I'd love for you to come by. So we sat in the back of the room, and we're showing clips from the game. And as you know, clips from those heartbreaking losses, those are tough to swallow because as a player, you already know, okay, I understand I should have closed out harder. You're showing stuff that guys already know what they needed to do. But at the same time, from an accountability standpoint, you need to show certain things.
You have to.
So that history doesn't repeat itself. Well, Wes was in the back, and he pretty much took over the film session. And so the coaches stopped having to say anything. And he talked about what he was seeing on the clips from a player standpoint, but also from the standpoint of someone that, had been part of the program and had won big at Marquette and that was now playing in the NBA and having success in the NBA. And it was really, really powerful. And I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but we went and we won 8 out of our next 9 games in the Big East. I mean, these were hard games we were playing. Yeah. And it really was a turning point in our season to allow us in our first year with basically a whole new roster almost to go to the NCAA tournament in our very first year. So I'll never forget Wes doing that.
Man, shout out to Wesley Matthews, man. I think his stint here with Milwaukee too was incredible, man. It was just unfortunate. One year we had COVID. Next year it was just injuries, this, that. But I really appreciate him. I really look up to him as well. As a player, we stay in touch and everything. He's a great person. Honestly, I actually have another dude that I do the Animal Facts, but no, I want to just talk, just basketball and start with you because I'm learning so much on how you see college and what's your perspective in this. But what's the most difficult? The other question would be what's the most difficult time you've had as a coach? Is it when you have to cut a player? Is it when you got to go play against a great player team? What's the most difficult part of being a head coach in college?
Probably losing.
Losing, huh?
Yes. I never handled it so well. But it's part of the game.
Yes.
And I think you guys in the NBA, because you play so many more games,
it's different.
You have a much healthier perspective, and you take more of a growth mindset to winning and losing.
Yeah.
We won, okay, good. What did we do well? How can we build on this? We lost, okay, it's unfortunate. We don't want that to happen again, but it happened. It's part of the game. How do we grow from it?
No.
In college, there's such an emotional attachment to losing that's probably the hardest part. And for me, as a head coach, I'm having to manage that for myself, but then also for everyone else in the program. And so you have to get yourself right first. Otherwise, you're not going to be worth much to anyone else. So it's certainly a process that I have to go through. But I would say that's the hardest part. I've coached as a head coach for 15 years, and I've had one losing season. And it was a bad losing season. It wasn't like 14-15. Like, it was a losing season. Yeah. And now, in retrospect, that was one of the most rich learning experiences of my life. And there's so many things that we do now that have come out of what I learned during that season. And so it's hard in the moment because you're upset and, nobody takes kindly to losing. And you never want to get to the point where, we lost, no big deal.
No, never. I don't care. I don't care what the situation is, never.
That's probably the hardest part. And I would say with the players, those guys, as you know, they want to win more than anyone. And so we live in this day and age where everyone has an opinion and everyone is quick to bash someone when they don't play well or they don't win. But no one cares more than the players. No one does. And so trying to protect them and shield them, if I could, I would hijack their phones for the entire season.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of nastiness on there, and I think now with the proliferation of gambling,
oh my God,
in college sports,
it's in college too.
Yes.
I thought it was just people with the parlays and what's it called in the NBA. It's in college too.
It's in college, and I think one of the things that's really changed, man, since I got into coaching, is now after games, gambling. Social media, boom, put them together. And I know you guys deal with this in the NBA. There's drunk guys.
It's an epidemic in the NBA, by the way.
In their parents' basement, in their underwear, or their pajamas. They're literally wearing like a one-piece pajamas. And they're on social media criticizing our players. And our players, and I explain this to them, you can't be obsessed with the good things people say about you and then ignore the bad. It doesn't work that way. So if you're going to attach yourself to the good, then you're also unfortunately attaching yourself to the bad. But I've seen guys get brought to tears and get brought to temporary depression because of the way people have reacted to how they've played. And so that's probably the hardest part because, again, we're just trying to move forward and grow and develop. This is certainly a roadblock that you can run into.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, that's what I'm done. Like that's the basketball part I wanted to know. But the last question, obviously, I want to end the podcast because I have so much respect for your time, Coach. I don't want to keep you here all day, even though I would love for this to be like 2-3 hours. Coach, what is the origin of your name? Like Shaka, like because people ask me all the time that like about my name. And
yes,
like where it comes from. Like where does your name come from?
So my name is probably the best thing my dad ever did for me. Did not have a great dad. Was raised primarily by a single mom. And that's a big part of what made me who I am or how I go about things today. But he did give me a great name. And so my name is Shaka Dingani Smart. So Smart I obviously got from him. That's his last name. My dad's from Trinidad. And he has 20 brothers and sisters. So there's a lot of smarts out there, out and about, including some siblings that I have that I've never even met. My first name is Shaka. My middle name is Dingani. Those names are both from Southern Africa. And they're both from an ethnicity that can be described using the term Zulu. Yes. You've heard of that before. Shaka was a very, very influential, powerful, controversial figure that united hundreds of thousands of people in Southern Africa under this ethnicity, Zulu, as a way to counteract colonialism. So Europeans coming in to Southern Africa to take over that part of the continent. And Shaka said, no, we're going to fight back. And he was an unbelievable warrior. In fact, if you Google top 100 warriors of all time, you'll find him in that list. Really, really good with war strategy. He invented this extra long spear that was very effective. At one point, they had just used spears that were a certain length, but he said, no, if we have these long ones and these short ones, that can make us more effective in warfare. His brother was named Dingani. So I'm named after two brothers. And what's crazy is, I haven't told a lot of people this, Dingani killed Shaka. And so Dingani actually, and this is oversimplified, but just in the interest of time, he sided eventually with some of the European colonialists as they were making their push. They kind of made a deal with them. And then the two brothers became enemies. And so Dingani ended up killing Shaka. So I'm probably one of the few people that has a name where one part of my name killed the other part of my name.
No, this is, I think, first of all, you're one of the most interesting figures in NCAA. Is that correct? How I say it? It says NCAA in the college as a head coach, because not because of your defense only, but your philosophy, the way you approach players and who you are as a person. But your instinct your name makes it to a whole different level too. So, man, nothing. I would just, thank you so much. I really, I'm so glad that I was able to interview you.
Yes, great to be on, man. I'm a big fan, and we would love to have you come by our facility
anytime,
meet our players. And we'd love to get you some Marquette gear.
Yes, please do.
Because I know you don't have like a college alma mater. So if we get you some Marquette stuff, you can rep us around the city.
I will. Thank you so much, Coach. Man, and again, guys, this is the end of the show. You guys have been amazing. If you guys who want to watch the show, you can go on YouTube, Thanasis Show. If you want to listen to it, whatever you get your podcast from, is available in every platform. Man, I don't know if Coach has socials and stuff like that, but like follow his journey. Go and get the book, Reading for Your Lives. I'm about to get it today, so go do that. Man, Coach, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. And Thanasis out. Thanasis is recorded at No Studios, Milwaukee's creative hub and production studio.